Guys, welcome back. I've got Coach Mizar with me again, and you guys are in for a treat because we're both wearing normal people clothes. So we both had a couple of events. We're not in the office, but a lot of people have been asking Big Dog specifically about when is it appropriate to count macros, or is it appropriate at all to count macros? And so because nutrition is such a big thing in the market right now, we wanted to just kind of go back and forth on this for a few minutes just to suss out some of the ideas about maybe when it's good versus when it's not good. So Mizar is coming on to help us with that. So Mizar, when would you say is an appropriate time to count macros for somebody?
I believe that it's when the individual has a specific goal and it's already putting all the things that are in their control in order to succeed. Sleep habits are spot on, uh, you know, same meal times, taking time to sit down, chew the foods, stay hydrated throughout the day. If it's training, training routine is the same. Yes, once in a while life is going to get in there, but the main priority, like all of the basic things, sleep, eat, train, they're all in place. And now it's a question of fine tuning. We need to have a base, like a starting base. For example, how do you know how much protein you need to eat when to start off you're not having breakfast? Once in a while you're having a burrito, if you have a burrito, or you name it, the salad, the sandwich. So what's in there? What's the routine? What's the lifestyle, right?
So you are more saying that something like macro counting is not foundational. It is sort of like icing on the cake. Is that generally speaking what you're saying?
Yeah, it's the refinement process. Like, to put it in CrossFit terms, is like trying to do a muscle up when we're having troubles to do a push up, right?
Yep.
So the push up is the equivalent to sitting down and chewing your food, or even lower than that, recognizing what's hunger, recognizing what's being thirsty, right?
Mm.
So
Why would you say that macro counting isn't foundational? What about it would you not call foundational?
um, for some people, it becomes too much to handle, because imagine if they're not having breakfast for lunch, whatever, if they remember to have lunch. Some people skip lunch, breakfast, and they're trying to do how do you say, intermittent fasting. Then they train, and then what do you eat? Do you eat until you explode? Do you eat until you feel full? Do you eat, how does the body respond to all of the, fasting that you do, So at that point, the body's into a survival mode. So give it anything and it's going to take it.
Interesting. I know something that I have often heard about, kind of the concept of counting macros is that if the baseline isn't there, if the foundation isn't there, like you're saying with sleep and with rhythm and training consistency, I think, then the macro counting isn't actually going to have that much of an effect. Is that the same as you have heard or have seen?
Well, the thing is, that's where we come back to, where are we within the evolution of our own development with food? Let's say the relationship we have with food, which is, do you understand that it's there to help me fuel my body? What's my lifestyle? What are my goals? Do I have a 8 to 5 job? Do I have high levels of stress? And that relationship and that understanding, that's what's key. Because how do we go to step A, having breakfast, making time or a priority to have breakfast? I would rather spend time and effort creating that habit of having this morning routine. I wake up, I take some time to actually wake up, as opposed to getting my alarm, get out of the bed, semi-brush your teeth, grab coffee on the road and have your bagel while you're driving, you know? Or I would rather spend time with an individual creating a foundation of, like, okay, why do you need to go to bed early? Why do you need to wake up with enough time to assimilate nutrients? And once they understand that, that's when they're starting to relate their energy with what they're eating and what their function is. And then we can start having that conversation of, like, okay, look, these are the macros that you should be having. Or sometimes I like to show them, when we're talking about numbers, okay, these are your numbers, but let's know that these numbers are there. This is what you need. And at the moment, the foundation is key. Before we
Hmm.
have earned the right of counting macros, let's earn the right of being consistent with how we treat food, how we eat, and the energy that it provides us.
It sure seems like I'm a big believer in starting simply as well. And I think that when you, exactly what you're saying, when you start too complex, not only is it challenging to understand or be aware of or follow, um, it also doesn't necessarily set you up to have the biggest foundation of longer term success. I've seen a lot of people who dial in macros, but their gut's screwed up, because they haven't fixed their gut, with the exact practices that you're talking about. I think that's a really important thing for people of all makes and models. It's like, well, should athletes count their macros? And I would go back to exactly what you said. It's like, are you sleeping at night? And if if you don't have that baseline foundation, um, I would almost soften it for somebody so that they don't feel like it's some kind of a big challenge. Like, well, so if you're not doing this, like you haven't earned the ability for macros. It's like, it is what it is, right? Like, but you will have longer term success if you have the baseline in place. And then guys like you and Sean and Michael, right? Like you guys can go down the rabbit hole on why that's the case and all of the biology and chemistry that goes on in the body that makes it so important to have all those pieces set. We just want to lay it out in a way that is simple so that people get it. So it's like, you're not sleeping, you need to figure out how to sleep. And if you can sleep better, then all these other pieces come on the backside, as a very bastardized version of it. So when would you say that a client would start to be ready for macros? Like, what does their sleep need to look like, or what does their consistency generally need to look like? And I know that there's probably going to be a level of it depends, so I'll get that out of the way. But when would you start looking at that with a client?
Usually a habit takes what, a month to say that it's now ingrained. And I would like to say that sometimes it's even more. When someone has a routine that, you're not even questioning what you're going to have for breakfast. You're going to get up, you're going to cook your eggs, sit down, take the time to chew it. It's already in your routine. If you're still fighting that urge of, having a quick fix, if you think about it, like that's where the evolution process is. And I mean, it's not that I'm against macros or for macros. It's more that let's look at it as a tool.
Mm.
Where are we within that awareness process? If I am conscious enough of my habits, and I realize that, look, what I'm doing is shit, I should be doing this, this, and this, I'm going to do it. Explain me why this has to be that way, and I'll make the necessary changes to make it happen. If you have an individual like that, why not? It's a tool, then it's
Yeah.
a powerful tool,
Yeah.
So,
Well said, man. I love the concept of a tool. Um, it makes total sense. It's like, as things become automatic, that's actually habit. And when you have habit, you can stack habits, right? But I
yeah,
think I think people try to stack so many things on top of one another before it's truly an automatic habit. And I think that's probably what you're saying is the recipe for potential downfall. Oh man, Mizar, thanks for this. I think that there's some other topics similar to this that we can certainly discuss. But I appreciate you coming on today, and I look forward to the next one, man. Thanks.
you're welcome.
We'll see you guys next time.